Way better role. Way better.
Like, love it. I'm like, ready?
Okay.
This is Haley.
And this is Bailey. You're listening to Unleashed.
I was going to tell you how the other day I went to bed really early, and it's kind of weird what I mean by that, because I fell asleep on the sofa at like 7:30, and then Bryce woke me up, and then I like went to bed, and then I woke up again, and I was like, now I'm wide awake, and then I went back to sleep. Anyway, but I was like, I never go to bed early. I used to hate going to bed early, and now I'm like, I live for that. And then I saw how something was like, our punishments today or as a child are our rewards as an adult. I was like, that is so true.
That is so true. And there are so many things that fall under that category. That is literally just one of them.
Do you like taking naps? Do you like taking
I
naps?
actually am not a napper, so I might veto this one for myself.
Really?
But
I thought you said you took a nap the other day.
No.
Well, you said you were going to.
No, I don't nap.
No, I didn't.
The only time I nap, I feel like usually means I feel like I have to be getting sick, because I can be so tired, but I hate the feeling when I wake up. So I always end up not napping.
I always
so
have
I'm really
like a massive headache. Like,
I'm so cranky for like an hour.
Yeah, I can't either. I mean, honestly, the only time I really thought about it was after I had COVID, but that would make sense because extreme lethargy and like exhaustion comes with that. So that makes sense. That was over 2 or 3 years ago, though. Man,
that was a long time ago. So that vetoes that one as something we do as a kid that we.
I know, but I do know that a lot of adults. I know that a lot of adults and like my family. I feel like napping becomes more of a thing when you have kids, because I know a lot of parents that enjoy taking naps when like they have the opportunity for some downtime. At least my family does. I know. I'm like, how do you guys nap? Like, and I think it's just because, you know, I don't have kids, so maybe that's why. I'll let you know if that day ever comes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we've been getting like really good sleep. We've been on such a good sleep schedule, like going to bed early, getting up really like early for us, like 6:30. But we've been getting like 8.5 hours of sleep. So I feel like I don't need to nap. Or if I maybe had a kid and I wasn't napping all the time, maybe I'd consider my naps a little more seriously.
Well, would you rather go to bed early then, or wake up or sleep in? That's the question. Yeah, I asked this the other day on my Instagram. I was like, would you rather go to bed early, or do you prefer sleeping in?
I actually am right now really enjoying going to bed early and waking up early, but I also really like a slow morning, so an in-between.
What's your definition of going to bed early, though? Because everybody's definition of going to bed early is like
we've been going to bed at like 9:30. That's our like ideal time right now.
That's early?
Yeah, that's like an early bed. Like anything before that I feel like would be too early, where I'd wake up like at a weird time. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't, like you said, you woke up and then you weren't as tired.
Yeah, that happens. I definitely, once I hit my head hits the pillow, I'm like, I can fall asleep so fast. It drives Bryce crazy when we watch TV. And that's something I definitely know that just comes with what I'm doing in the day. It just like gets so exhausted. So another thing that I think is funny about how being an adult and the things we use as rewards are like, yay, I get me time or whatever. And then like as a kid, it's like a punishment, like eating your vegetables or whatever. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a great example, because I mean, you're supposed to eat vegetables, but I don't use it as a reward necessarily. But I would say like getting certain gifts as, you know, presents for the holidays or your birthday. I do remember very specifically, I got like 36 pairs of socks one year for Christmas. It was like a set. It was like a giant amount. And I was like, thanks. Yay, sock puppet. But yeah, certain gifts, I guess, like as a kid, you wouldn't, like I saw a thing that said, oh, you know, you're an adult when you get excited about a certain vacuum, or, you know, yeah. But like as a kid, you're like, that would suck. No pun intended.
Yeah. I feel like even when you're little, I feel like kids like are like clothes, like that's not exciting. And now like we get clothes and we get so excited, and something we've been like wishing for and wanting, where when you're little you're like, I don't need that, but parents are like, these are necessities, it's a good gift. But to kids it's like, no, a toy.
No, I totally agree. I think it's really funny how, at what point do our priority shift. Like I saw I see all these funny things. And it was like when they start asking for Squishmallows and Barbies and trucks and toys and to iPads, Uggs and Stanleys, all these funny things. It's like at what point do they start to transition into that more, I don't know, older, I guess, older generation stuff rather than like the kid toys?
I feel like it really depends on who you hang out with. Like, I think it can happen kind of early if you're hanging out with that kind of crowd. I think a lot of times it probably starts to come into play a little more in high school, but I think
Yeah.
it's a lot depends on who you're hanging out with
Yeah, I
and what
definitely can
they're
see that.
getting and what they're talking about and what you're seeing.
Yeah. I was asking my brother what his kid wants for Christmas and his girlfriend's kid, and I was like, is there anything that they want? She's like, I think 8. And they're like, yeah, she's starting to like boys. So maybe like some nails, like glue on nails or dresses, earrings. Like that's what she's asking for. And I'm like, okay, I remember that. I remember the time where I was like, I gotta look cute. I gotta make sure that I have the right stuff for it. But it's one thing to, I think, have gifts and stuff. But do you remember like playing house?
Yeah, all the
Or
time.
yeah, okay. Do you ever remember like when that stopped? Like I vividly have a memory of when I remember thinking I'm losing my imagination, like as a little
Really?
girl. Yeah,
I
I
do not
remember I was in
remember when
6th
it
grade.
stopped.
Yeah, I
That
was in
seemed I
6th
was gonna
grade.
say middle school. That's what I was gonna say because I feel like you kind of go through this, like you grow up a little more and the crowd you're with grows up a little more right in between like elementary and middle school. And that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna guess, but I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, I just remember like I don't know what I was doing, but my friends were like, "You want to come over?" And they said play. And I remember thinking, we don't play anymore. We hang out. It's like playtime is so for children. Like it's a 6th
It's
grader. I'm like,
it changes so much and the conversations you have, at those ages,
yeah,
like my little cousin's 13 and the shift has been so different. I'm like, whoa, we're having such different conversations.
right, right. It's really interesting. I also know that like with that time too, we didn't also have like as much technology and like no screen time. That's a huge thing I see with kids nowadays. But like adults will be like, oh, if I don't have to be on my phone right now, that'd be great. And then the kids are like, give me the iPad. Like I love it. Like I could be in it all day long.
Yeah, that's such a big thing right now. I've actually seen a lot of things on Instagram and TikTok where families have like eliminated screen time and how much it has reduced and helped their kids with like tantrums and all these different things. I've like looked at it a little. I haven't
Oh
really
yeah.
dug into it, but how
My
much it
sister
really
calls them
does
screen
affect,
monsters.
yeah, how much it affects their everyday.
Yeah, it's makes a huge difference. My sister used to do a thing called screen free summers where they would get, I think at the end of the summer, $100, and then if they didn't have any screen time, I think they got like an hour in the summer total time for it. Like if they wanted to watch a movie as a family or stuff like that, like that would be exempt, but they wouldn't be allowed to play video games or anything like that. They'd have to go out and like read or play in the yard or friends. And then for any book they would read, that would be an additional dollar they'd get at the end of the summer. And so it had to be like whatever age they were, like in line with whatever, greeting raid level, that made sense. Grade reading level for them. And I was like, I love that. And they love reading now, which is funny because reading for me as a kid was more of a punishment for me because I hated reading.
It's interesting. That's one that I feel like could fall under a lot of people where in elementary school, middle school, and high school, you have to read. You have to read these certain books to do, different things in school. Whereas you get older, sometimes like I enjoy reading now. I do go through phases. Like I'll go through a phase where I will pick up a book and that's all I'm doing is I'm reading all the time. And then I completely stop and I haven't picked up a book for a really long time. But I do love it where I do remember when I was younger, it was like, you have to read this book for school. And I dreaded that. And then having to read a book out loud in class, that was
Oof.
awful.
Did
That
you
was
ever like
horrible.
count what your turn
Oh,
was?
100%. I counted
And then,
all
like,
the way. And then
practiced it?
practiced it. I was like, I'm not understanding this book at all because I'm just reading my sentence over and over until
I'm
we
like,
get
I don't
here.
know what I just read, something about King Triton or something.
Yeah.
King Charles. I don't know what I just read, but I know I read it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so stressful, and I
So
definitely
stressful.
know it was even more stressful too if we got like quizzed on it. I hated getting quizzed on books we were reading because I would just not comprehend it. And I think that had something to do with ADD. Like, it'd take me several tries to be able to comprehend what I'm reading because I'd be like, I don't know what I just read.
Yeah, I was the same way. I feel like I have to really focus when I'm reading. I cannot do
Yeah.
like I have to be super focused. There has to be a fun way to get into reading, just like your sister did with her kids. But there is certain ways. I think if you can create it to be a positive thing when you're younger, you can get kids into reading. So I was talking to my little cousin. She's 13. She's like, oh my! I was like, do you want to read a book together, like something age appropriate? I thought that'd be a fun way to like connect, maybe something, And she was like, reading. And I was like, oh yeah, we don't like reading, right? We don't like that. And she's like, no, I have to read
That's
them.
not cool.
That's not cool. Yeah, I knew that. Not cool. She was like, no, I have to read a book for school and it's not fun. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. So then it's like, you don't want to go home and read after you've been doing that in school all day. So I get that.
Would you say you enjoyed reading as a child, or was it, like you said, it was more of a chore?
Definitely more of a chore. But now we're getting into it more.
Yeah, okay.
As
What
I get
about
older.
cleaning? Because, like, Saturday chores
chore.
are such a thing for me.
A chore. But it's funny because my dad said, did you enjoy... Okay, this is a quick question. Did you enjoy cleaning on Saturdays, or was it like something you dreaded?
Yeah, no, I did not like it.
Okay, because my dad always says he remembers Sundays were the days like they would clean as a family, and it was some of his favorite memories because they would put music on, all hang out, and like it was like this
cute.
Fun thing they did. And I was
they must
like,
have all got along.
Aw, they got along.
Oh, they must have loved each other.
Oh my gosh. But I feel like that's like an example where you can make it a fun thing, I think. It's just like how you go about it. But I didn't love cleaning, I mean.
No, yeah. I definitely remember like
thing.
I had a temper tantrum. I just remember like crying. I was like leaning up against my door in my bedroom and I was just like crying because my room was a mess. And my mom was like, you can't shove stuff under your bed and call it clean. And that was like my plan. And I had friends I wanted to go play with, but I had to actually clean my room. And I was so overwhelmed and I was just crying. And then she was on the phone with my grandma and she put me on the phone with my grandma. And she's like, did you know that all the time you are now spending crying, you could have been cleaning your room and been closer to being done? And my mind was blown. I was like, that is so true. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I was like, you are so right, but I still don't want to clean.
I feel like that's something now, too, that we enjoy more than we did when we were little. And someone said that, and you're like, yeah, but that's a great point, but no thank you.
Yeah, there's a point with cleaning for me, though, that is enjoyable. And then, when I get into a certain point with cleaning, I get mad. I will be like, I just freaking cleaned this. Why is it dirty again? I didn't
That's
even
how I feel with the RV. It's like a small space. It's like we're always cleaning. Like, didn't we just clean? And how is it messy again? Like, how?
I know, and that's how I feel like. I mean, I don't live in a huge place, but there's definitely areas of our home that we're not in every day, like our guest room. And I realize I still have to dust that room because dust comes whether you're there or not. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't just neglect this room. Otherwise it's just going to end up being disgusting. And that was getting me so mad because I'm like, I am keeping the rest of this house clean. I don't get how people can keep these 4,000 square foot plus mansions clean. And then Bryce is like, well, they hire people to do it. And I'm like, but still, let's just pretend that doesn't happen. How do they do that? It's hard.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge space. I feel like, I think that with how small our space is, I'm like, how do you keep something bigger than this clean? But I also think, and my mom's even said this, she's like, it's so small that you notice the tiniest thing. Just a little bit of hair from Hudson. I'm like, didn't we just sweep? But in a house, you probably don't notice that as quickly as you do in such a small space.
I saw this video that said, take your piece of your hair when you're looking to choose out flooring for your home and find which floor, color it blends in with the most. So that way you don't see your hair. And I'm like, that comes with a double-edged sword.
Doesn't that just make it dirtier in the big picture?
I was like, okay, so you don't see it. Yes, but you don't see it. So how clean is your home? I'm like,
yeah. That's like a white couch. Balance with before. It. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, ew. It's kind of like bedding. I definitely know that if you have white bedding, you see the dirt more, so you wash it more. and you keep it clean. I think actually you were the one that told me that with sofa. Yeah, and then with darker colored sheets or bedding or whatever blankets, you don't see that as much, so you don't know if it needs to be cleaned, and so it could be really dirty. Actually, I'm like, oh, that's gross to think about.
It's funny because I don't even think about having a different color. I'm so drawn to white. Our bedding is white. And Evan and I were talking about for Christmas, I was like, why don't we do a fun bedding? Like get sheets that are Christmas and, you know, maybe a comforter or whatever. And he was like, yeah, let's look. And we looked and we are like, these are so overwhelming. This is going to make our
It
space
would
feel
totally
so
clutter up your
like
space.
cluttered. Yeah. And I was like, we're going to stick with the white because I'm just so used to white. It does get dirty, but it's like anything's going to get dirty. If it's dark or white, it's going to get dirty. Either way, you're just going to know quicker when you have a white comforter or white sheet.
It's true. I had a green duvet like quilt over my bed for one Christmas, and when I switched it back to our like cream one, it totally made the room more like zen. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like makes the room feel darker, heavier. Like there's fun accents of dark colors, like you can definitely warm up a room, I think, but when you have such a minimalist or a neutral color scheme in your home or decor, it definitely is hard. And so I think it's really smart you guys didn't do that, because I think you would have gone a little crazy, especially because you're like, I need time before putting up decor, Christmas decorations, because I just want it to feel clean. I'm like, yeah, that would not have gone well.
And then when you're a little kid, you're like trying to get all the colors and all the different things. And I remember like
Everything.
I had a baby. I wanted a pink room, but my mom really loves white. And she was like, she even will admit it now. She's like, I had a really hard time letting go of like my white house. So we like settled and agreed on like a baby pink. And then she painted my doors because she can paint and she did it really pretty. But I remember being like, I want a pink room, and actually very happy we landed on the baby pink because it worked as I like got older too. It didn't like really look like pink in certain lightings, but when you're young, you like want all these bright colors. You want all the knickknacks put around the house, around your room, and like
Oh,
then you get
that's
older and you're
better
like
than what
clean.
mine ended up being. I really love the colors blue, green, and brown.
Mm,
So we had
that's
all of
a
my walls in my room brown. Why
oh
would you ever let a child choose one color?
that
It's
well that was like my
horrible.
my mom. She was like, I used to have the cutest outfits for you, and then your grandma would buy you all the like Disney like character outfits and bright colors. She was like, you never, the second you learned you could dress yourself, you never went for the cute stuff, like all the cute colors. You went for all the like Disney stuff. She's like, I just had to let it go. You just had to dress yourself. You had to learn. And I'll look at pictures. I'm like, why did you let me dress myself like that? And she's like, well, I wasn't worth the fight. You wanted to wear that and I let you wear it. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
letting me wear
it's
that,
true.
but wow, what an
Yeah, I
outfit.
look back and now I'm like, ooh, that's
Yeah.
no bueno. Yeah. My room as a child, I would have my brother would decorate my bed because I don't know what it's called, but it's like I had a bar on the top of the head and then a bars on the bottom of the bed and then also on the side. It was like a day bed. I think that's what it's called, a day bed. It was like it kind of looked like a sofa, but it was like there were bars all around. Anyway, he decorated it all around with lights and I loved it. And I'd have my own little tree and I just like decorated this like however I wanted. And it's funny because I think about that now and I'm like, I definitely love having like each like kid being able to decorate their own little tree in their own way with however they want, because I feel like nowadays there's a lot of people who don't want their kids decorating their main tree. Like my tree, if you're watching this, is right behind my Christmas tree. And I've heard that people don't want their kids decorating the main tree. They'll have a fun, nice tree, and then they'll have like a special tree for ornaments that are sentimental or whatever. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that people who have certain trees and like styles with that, I think it definitely makes a difference.
I've always, like, my family's always had very sentimental ornaments, and we've always done one tree that we all decorate together. So that's what I think I'm used to, and I'm totally okay with it not having this specific theme. I love that ornaments have like a story behind them. That's what I really love about decorating. In the RV, we did something like really simple, and I just made a few ornaments just because we're driving all the time and didn't make sense. So that one's pretty simple. But I feel like when I have a house, I would totally be okay with it just being decorated however. But I know most people have a themed tree. I've just never really done that. So I think I'm okay with it not
Yeah.
being themed.
My family grew up the same way where all of our ornaments were sentimental. And then as I've gotten older now, I've realized that I like my tree being very simple. I used to have it all decked out, ornaments up and down, very full, very much. And it got to that point, kind of similar with you in that bedding, that it was just too overstimulating for me, that it would like kind of make me a little like, ugh. And because the ceilings here in my home are really high too, it just like, it still overwhelmed me. It didn't feel cozy. It felt more cluttered. And so I was like, oh man. So this year I actually did something totally different. I usually have a flock tree. Now I have just a normal green tree, and I only have like a few ornaments on it because I was like, I just don't want anything crazy this year, because we also do put up our stuff really early, which we've talked about. But I think it's kind of interesting as a kid, like we've talked about, like the things that you prefer as a kid or the punishments, and then you have as an adult, how those things do shape you and what you'll end up, passing down to other people or even teaching other people different traditions. I think it's super cool to hear about.
Yeah, it's kind of funny on that. This year, Evan and I decided to paint our walls, like paint little, if you look on my Instagram, I shared it, paint little Christmas trees on our walls.
Paint the walls.
Paint
Like,
the walls.
Paint the walls. Okay.
Literally paint little Christmas trees on the wall. And it's so funny because when we started, if you watch my video, I did like a little vlog style of it. And I was like, I'm so nervous. Like it was hard for me at first to like let go of it not being perfect, because you're literally painting on the wall. It's not like you can just keep starting over. But something that's really interesting is the amount of responses I got of, wait, you literally paint on the wall. Wait, how do you cover it up? How do you fix it? How do you, like, it seemed like such a stressful thing. Not stressful, but like, yeah, but like, wait, we can do that thing? And it's like,
that's allowed?
Yeah. And when I was making my caption, Evan was like, it's like adulting. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you can paint on the wall.
You can have dessert before dinner. You can do whatever you want.
But it's that like, so that cool, was though. Like, it was so much fun. It was such a fun activity. We both were talking about it, like, actually after, because I got a bunch of texts from my friends like, wait, how are you fixing it? I was like, oh, we have the paint in the RV. But we were talking about it. We're like, we're pretty sure we can like scrub most of it off and then just do like a light layer over it without having to do a bunch of layers. But it's such a simple thing. And we were also talking like, oh, when we have a family, like, will we paint on the walls? And I was like, that might be tricky. We're gonna have to come to that when the time crosses, because kids might
maybe when they're older and they can comprehend what you're doing. Because like as a child, they probably are like, oh, we paint the walls downstairs, I'm gonna paint them up here.
Yeah, but it was so fun. If you have a place in your house you can do it, definitely recommend, because it was a fun activity.
Go paint Christmas trees.
Go paint your walls.
Your walls. I love that. It's funny because I remember painting, not even painting, I had a pencil and I was in timeout in my room, and so the door was shut and I had a pencil and I was like, I'm just going to draw on the wall. And I remember trying to draw a guitar. I don't know why. I tried to draw, and it was really big. And then my mom came in, and I got in so much trouble. I was like, you're not supposed to draw on the wall. And it was actually there for a while.
My story from when I was younger is a little different about painting, but it's about cleaning. So it's in this topic. But I remember wanting, it was like in my room, me and my friend Charlie were in my room, and we were like, we're going to clean. Like, we're going to be so helpful, and we're going to clean the floors. Well, our genius idea was to get a ginormous bucket of water, soap, and like literally make it like an ice skating rink in the room. And we like were just like sliding around the entire room with like bubbles everywhere. And my parents came in and were like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
And there's so many videos like that of kids like just doing stuff like that. Oh my gosh. What did they do when they walked in?
I honestly can't really remember. I do remember, I'm pretty sure my mom walking by the window and seeing, and she was not happy about it, and we had to clean up. And I think the cleaning up was actually very hard because of how messy we made
it was. Yeah. Wait, where in the house was this?
The side bedroom, the one across from my parents' room. That used to be my room.
You did it all over there?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow, that's exciting. I mean, there's definitely all these stories about how we like. It's funny how just things change and like the differences it makes from when we're a kid versus being an adult. I mean, like we said, we're adults, so we can do whatever we want. I mean, like I said, you can have dessert before dinner if you really wanted to.
You can have a sleepover whenever you want. Do you ever think
about that? No permission. You don't need to ask for permission. I mean, it's just.
I looked at Evan recently and I was like, we have sleepovers every night. Isn't that cool?
I say the same thing. I told Bryce, we've had over 2,400 sleepovers. He's like, wow, that's a lot. I'm like, I know, isn't it great?
You're like, cool, great.
He's like, cool, yeah, all right, good night.
Yeah,
it's so funny, but it's like those things that my niece like always is trying. I feel like all these kids are trying to grow fast. That's just a thing when you're a kid. I mean, I did it. Everybody does it. But my niece was like, oh man, like I don't know if being an adult sounds like great. And I was like, I love it. And nobody ever I've heard say that. They usually say like enjoy being a kid like now, which I mean, I do think they should, but I was like, I love being an adult. Yeah, it has its pros and cons for sure. But I'm like, she's like, really? I was like, yeah. I'm like, I don't have to ask for permission or anything. I can eat what I want. I can do what I want. I can hang out. I mean, do I do irresponsible stuff? No. I mean, I still eat healthy foods before I have junk food or whatever. I mean, not all the time, but I'm not going to encourage that with her. But anyways, it was just like one of those things that's like, there are a lot of fun things to being an adult. And I know that comes with also a lot of, bad things too, much like everything else in life. But it's just interesting to see how our punishments are now our rewards. So in reality, we're just training for adulthood.
I agree with what you said. It's really fun being an adult. There are things where, like, I'm turning 26 soon and I need to figure out my insurance, and I'm like, ooh, that's adulting. I don't know how I feel about that
I'm so
one.
glad I braced for that.
But yeah, I'm like, all right, we'll figure that one out. Thank goodness my parents will help me.
I'm sure
like,
your
figure
dad
it
will
out.
help you. He seems like he would know what to do.
At least he knows what to do and can help me get that figured out. But I do agree, it's so fun being an adult, and I think it is important as a kid to enjoy being a kid because there's such a so many things you don't think about, like even eating. I don't know, just like the littlest things that might seem like a big deal are so fun to enjoy, have an imagination, like not have these different worries, go to school and have fun. Even though I wasn't a huge fan of school, there is a fun part of it, getting to know people, meeting new people all the time, like making friends easy. Our last podcast was just about how hard it is to make friends as an adult. So I think both phases are so fun for different reasons, and it is interesting to see how much we take from when we're younger and apply it into today in a different way.